today we will start to looking a little bit on some nice surf footage that was nicely provided. So let's have a look at it. So I'm just going to fire up the application and open everything up. And so what we're going to look at is, as I mentioned, some nice surfing footage from 1972 from a movie called Morning of the Earth, directed or produced or something of Albert Falson. So it's a clip we're allowed to use thanks to you all guys that send in things that you want to have a look at. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this. So you can see I have a 4K project, and so the material is scanned at 4K. Is 60 millimeter footage, and let me just bring it in. I'm gonna import it, and it's kind of a log scan, very nice looking, but it has a few issues that you might run into. Could be in client. Study. Oh, here we go. So I have 3 reels here, or 3 clips more or less. I'm going to import those. And we'll just splice these 3 onto the timeline. Oh, hold on a little bit. And what we can see, as they are a bit bluish and so on, but it's because it's some kind of milky log scan. You can see here that the levels are what they are, but that's all right. Also can see on this that in the beginning here, if you just look on the sprockets here, and as I step forward, you can see they jump around quite a bit. So otherwise, it's fairly stable. But as you see, the footage itself is just water and waves and all kinds of things. So it's actually kind of tricky to stabilize these kind of footage just looking on the image itself. But let's start how would normal we do it by using Steady. I'll also show you another way how you can do it. And so I'm going to start with applying a Steady tool. And I'm going to use the DVO Steady 2, and we'll just apply it overall. Doing that, and it will sort of try by default to just analyze the whole clip. But as I mentioned, this is water and everything. So in this case, we're gonna use the film corners. And in this case, we're also gonna use actually let the sprocket holes become the film corners. So I'm just gonna set my region of interest. So sort of focus on that. As I mentioned, this is like a 60 millimeter footage, so but it's scanned in 4K, so it's scanned with more resolution than it actually has. So, but it doesn't matter. It's where it becomes very nice, and you can scale it as much as you want. So, and it's quite common today to do things like that. So, but still, just to speed things up, I'm just going to put resolution in half. That doesn't mean that affect the image anywhere, but I'm just letting the algorithm know that the image has very, very high resolution, actually more what it contains. So that's cool. And also I need to set the size to small in order, because we want to just focus around this area. I don't want to see too much around the other things. So and setting this that be kind of nice. Another thing I mentioned, you could see in the beginning that it was moving around quite a bit, and but what we will do is in this case use the splice switch, which is automatic, and it probably work, but I will tell it to be in a manual mode and tell it to look on the 10 first frame. So so it sort of focus on that. So now we can then see that it actually is fixing these kind of jumpiness in the beginning. Just do a split. We can then see, going back to the beginning, we can see how it sort of fixed that issue. Quickly going to show you another way to stabilize it, and that's using pan and scan and tracking. So I'm going to quickly go to the previous clip and just go for my tracker. I create a new group and a new track, and I will have something like this where I put around this area. It's perhaps a little bit big, so I can go to my search area. So I have the search with a bit more narrow, the height as well, so I don't have to search that very much. And my reference doesn't need to be as big either, but maybe something like this. And I hit track forward, and you can see it sort of keeps track of that position of the clip. And once I've done that, so I go back to the beginning, and what I can do now is to add a pan and scan effect. So I'll do that by adding an pan and scan as an input effect. And in this case, I'm going to tell it to use the tracking or the track. And right now I only have one track, so, and let it, tell it to invert that track and apply it. So now we will see that as we go here, we have various kind of movement in the panning and tilting in order to sort of stabilize it. And we can also see here with a split that it sort of does the same thing, but moving it down instead for up, and you will have a stabilized thing. So that's a couple of other ways you can do than using a normal full tracker to stabilize it. What I also will show you now is a little bit of, because you can see in this material, there's quite a lot of scratches and dust and stuff, but what it has is that it has some really nasty scratches. So they're kind of deep, and it's also scanned in high resolution, so it gives a little bit of shading around it. So I'm just going to move back to this clip and remove a few items, and as we play, we can see that you have some, well, quite heavy scratches here. So we can see like this over here, for instance. So what I want to do now is add the scratch tool. this case, I'm going to pick the scratch target and add it as an FX layer because I get a little more functionality in there. Looking on the scratch target, well, nothing really happens, but of course the scratch is black, so yeah, I should go for black. And hold on. Black, please. Yeah, so that sort of takes it away. But looking closely, we'll just do something. So you can still see, even though it removed the scratch, you still have a little bit shading here. I can try to tell it that it should be a wide scratch and get slightly better, but you still have a little bit shading going around. I can increase column aggressiveness and noise level. And it looks better, but still you have a little bit tiny thing behind. So what we can do in these cases, I mean, normally the scratch tool work just out of the box and there's no problem, but of course you will happen to have this kind of footage, and that's why I'm very pleased to be able to share this with you, because it allows me to show what to do when it doesn't work. So in this case, what we can do is, just as we have here, like you have difference red and you compare it with input effects, you can see that it gets red mark wherever I processed. So you do pick up a lot, but we can also use that function as a processing help to create the matte. So what I'll do is just add a color layer, and in this case I want to create the matte for what has been processed. So I'm going to use the difference matte. The difference matte was sort of, okay, what is the difference between something? So in this case, I don't want to have the previous because this is the output of the scratch target, but I select output of the base, which is the step ahead of the scratch thing. So I can ask the software what has happened since then. So now it will kind of do that. And I also want to make it that it creates a usable matte. So I tell the difference mode it's going to be a Luma. So I create the Luma matte that I can use. And if I hit show, you can see it becomes gray and little light. But if I tell it to be like yellow and say it's inside, so now I can clearly see where this has been processed. But if you look closely and go there, it's not really covering whole of it. I can increase the intensity of this by increasing the scale, and it definitely will help. But I might want to have a little bit more to flow it. So we do have the matte tools. Matte tools allows us to sort of things for the speckle. So if I don't want to process the thin ones, I can sort of lower that, and that will remove small things. I can have a softness to soften the thing, and I can also have the grow function. And with the grow function, if I increase this one, you see it will process outside. But there's just a little tad of this one, so I'm sure it covers what's needed. So now I know I can process wherever it's needed. And in this case, it's where this little darkness is. And if we look here, I can just select an area like this, and we can see here in the middle, it's still a little dip there. So that is what we want to get rid of. So, but we have the matte, so now we know that we just work in that area. So what I'm just going to do is just take any tool, and I can then sort of within that area, just lighting it up or something, or darken it or whatever. So, so to know how much I need to do it. So if we look on the different colors, so if I show channel red, for instance, yeah, we can see a little bit in the red, and in the green channel, yeah, a little bit, not as much. And in the blue, yeah, it's slightly more apparent in the blue. So, so I have now the ability to work separately per channel, because it's film, so you have 3 channels. So we might as well work them independently. So for the blue, I just increase my threshold a bit until I think that it's nicely gone. So you can see it goes away. And then I'll just go the same thing with the green channel, increase a tad in there as well, and you can see it goes nicely away. And then just have a look at in the red as well, and punch that one up just slightly. That was way too much, something like that. And now we can see it's nicely gone, and we can definitely see the result by bypassing it, that it actually goes away. So that's a way to remove it. We can still see that there might be some scratches still remaining, and here's one, for instance, where we can see so it wasn't covered, probably because it's a bit skew. So and then here's maybe one short, or also maybe skewed, I don't know, it wasn't picked up anyway. So what to do with that one? So happy enough, we have the dry clean. So in this case, we can apply the dry clean. So we have it as an effect after everything, and applying it will kind of start picking up a little bit, not everything, and perhaps some of the, as it's water, we probably don't want to process bright dust. So we take that one out because we don't want it to remove water splashes, but we want to have the dark one. And we see it took out most, didn't do very much about these kind of things. But in this footage, if I do difference red, we can see it finds some kind of nice dust speckles, but there's still some around. But it's very clean and nice, this footage, because it's a log scan, so I can increase my processing quite heavily. And also, so it picks up these, starts to take away this scratch as well. These tiny ones is already gone. So do the difference red now. We can see it goes in and takes these without really affecting much of the one, because as you can see, I don't know, yeah, you can see these are actually dust speckles, these things that are one. So it takes away the really tiny ones as well. We can also try to see if increasing the advanced analysis a bit further, it might take away a little bit more. And well, this one still remains, but that's kind of cool. But because I can show you something else as well then. How to do when you have stubborn scratches that really don't want to go away, but you want them out. So you can see now, well, that probably just remains for one frame. Stepping to the next one, it should be gone. Yeah, so it's only there. Comparing this with dual split, we can do so you can see it actually does rub away quite a bit of these issues anyway. So what we want to do now is, of course, use the correct tool to remove this one. And of course, it's the DVO scratch. And in this case, we're gonna use the target part of it. So I'm gonna apply this one again. I'm gonna turn off auto detection because already done my scratch pass, so I don't need it now. I just want it as a paint tool. And if I then, if I hit the Alt key on the keyboard, you will see that we get this little circle. And if I press and hold Alt and then on my left-hand mouse, I can now make a draw on this scratch. And you see now it's gone. But as I said, this was just on this frame. So what I need to do then is to tell frames active, enable that one. So now you can see down here, it made something which is a keyframe for this one. So it actually is just active for this frame. And we can also see it within the picture. And by using the select region, so we now can see it, how nice I made that paint stroke. And if I go to the next frame, you see now it's still there, but it's not highlighted. So in this case, it's not active. And so with that one, we probably can go through if there are any other kind of issues or scratches. Like here we have something that looks perhaps a bit nasty, so I can then again, or let me see if it's, yeah, it's very, very shallow scratch. But again, I can take this little circle and just draw over it. I'm not even sure that if you can see it or not, but and it will clean this out as well. So so and let me see if we can make it dual. So we can, so we can see it kind of efficiently cleans up the material. Of course, this is 4K material, so and so it needs a little bit time of rendering, but anyway, that's about it, what I was about to show you today. In terms of two variants of stabilizing, if you have some material, like when you have water or really, really complex movements in the scenes, that you can try to either use like the sprockets or just track something and use a tracker for stabilizing. It works good as well. And also I showed you, well, bit of the scratch target, and when you have these kind of scratches that is not either very sharp, so it goes shades, or very, very shallow, how you can then use a combination of the tools with the help of the difference mat and such in order to address it and so on. So with that, I think that's what's my intention of presenting today. Unless there are any questions, then I will happy to try to answer them. Other than that, well, it was a shorter session today, but I think that is about what we needed for this one. Also like to say, like this time we got Justin sending in some footage, and that's always nice because I can see your problem and rather than just mine. Okay, I got a question. Okay, so asked how I can extend the region of interest to be on multi-pram on the last. Okay. Let me see. Yes, okay. So if I have a scratch that lasts than more than one frame, so let's let me see if there's some scratches on this one maybe. Oh, I saw something there that might last, or if it's just. So let's just do it like this. I'm gonna bring in this fellow again, and we'll have a look. Oh, I took them all. So in the case, we have a scratch over here, and it lost 4 frames more or less. Then it's on another place. So what I can do is, in this case, if I just add a scratch target, and well, I draw the last time, but I can also have the ability to just hold down the left mouse, and then it will automatically draw some kind of rectangle or something over the whole line. So you can see select region and actually make a nice straight line over the whole one. So that's what I want. So, but I don't want it to last for the whole content, for the whole frame, but just for the frames where it exists. So what I do then is I say frames active for this frame, and tell it to be active on this frame as well. Let me see. Yeah. So, and so that's one way to do it. Just go step by step, or I can do to my timeline. And as I know it was 4, I actually can drag this one 2 frames ahead. So now I know this region is only active for the duration of in and out of this one. So that's one way you can do it. So either way, so either you just go and press frames active on that one. So you can now see it's active, red, fully, and then it becomes transparent because it's now not within the scratch I wanted it. So that's how you can set multiple frames and so on. So all right, then I say thank you for today, and hope to see you. I'm not sure if it's going to be me or someone else next month, but anyone who's have some material, just send it in and we can have a look and discuss it. Okay, thank you everyone.